Hey, shalom. Welcome back. Here we are for another directed Hebrew immersion in the books of the prophets. We are continuing to work through the book of First Kings, and it was kind of a big verse last time we hit half of it. This time we will be continuing First Kings 13:6, part B. That's the second part of the verse. All right, so continuing with part B. Adonai Adonai Abba Edir Shimcha Ein Lanu Melech Moshiach Umagen Blitecha. Okay, let's get into it. Now this is the full verse, and then last time we worked through part 6a, and maybe I'll just give a real quick refresher on this. Vaya'an HaMelech, then the king. This is the verb ana. He answered, Vayomer, and he said, El, unto, Ish HaElohim, the, right, the man of God. Chalna, entreat, please, like caress, make soft, please. Et pnei Adonai, before Adonai, Elohecha, your God. Hitpalel, pray. Va'adi, on account of me. Vatashov, that should return. And then here we are with this week's part B. Let's have a look. Oops. Sorry, didn't realize I had these other animations that weren't up as we're going. It did look like something was missing. There we go. That looks a lot better. All right. So that should return. Vatashov. It's feminine, that she will return. Yadi. Yadi. The hand of me. My yad. My hand. Well, my hand to return eili. Eilaiv. And by the way, you see up here, this is the full verse in case you need that. Unto eil, unto me, unto me. Vichal ish haElohim. Okay. Vichal. Now this is that verb that we looked at last time. Chala. I'll put it up here. Hold on. Chet. Lamed. Hey. And the hey has gone away. So we are only left with the chet lamed, what we have here. Chet lamed. So chala, let's look at last time's slide, can mean to grow weak or tired, to fall sick, be ill. But in the PL binyan, it can mean to appease or flatter. And when used with panim, to soften by caressing. So that is going to fit the bill. Let's have a look at that. So the hey went away, and the yod is telling us he is doing something. He. When you prefix a yod to an imperfect verbal form, that's telling you it's third person. masculine or common. And since there's nothing in the end, it's going to be singular. So this is he. Okay. Any comments or questions? So Vichal would be he is caressing, he is making, like, convincing. It, remember, I showed you the idiomatically it's with pnei, right? So we actually have that over here. Okay. So the idiom is there in full. Now the vav is going to change it to make it perfect, which is like a past tense for us in English. Okay. So we have vaychal ish ha Elohim, construct chain. Last word in the chain is definite because it has ha. So the whole chain will be definite. That is our the. And the aleph can't take a dagesh. That's why we have the long vowel there. And the Venus gets transferred to every other word in the construct chain. In this case, just one. So, of course, because of this, we have Ha Elohim, which is the God. And then that Venus is going to come over here to Ish. So we say the Ish, the man of the God. Sounds a bit weird in English. You can just say the man of God. And this whole chain is the subject of the verb. That's the subject. And here is our verb. That is the normal direction in biblical Hebrew. We have verb followed by subject. Whenever the subject is not followed by the verb, this is telling you that something is expressing some kind of emphasis. But here, it's behaving like we expect. We have our verb and our subject. Okay? So, Vichal ish ha-Elohim. Then the man of God, and we're going to look forward to see pnei here, so we get that idiom. He like convinced or he caressed, literally. Pnei Adonai, et pnei Adonai. Construct chain. Now, Yod He Waw He, it's gray because it's a proper noun, right? It's a name. So that means it's definite. and it will impart that definiteness to all the other words in the chain. So the presence of Adonai, pnei Adonai. So ויחל איש האלוהים et pnei Adonai. So, or then, the man of God caressed the face of Adonai, the presence of Adonai. So he's trying to convince him, he's entreating him to change his mind, because the king asked him, Vatashav, yad hamelech, Vatashav, yad hamelech. So let's look here. We have a construct chain. Should be getting really used to those. Biblical Hebrew sure likes them. And again, the last word, the word that's in the absolute in the construct chain, is definite, this time not because it's a name, but because it has the definite article. Ha, meaning the. So it will impart, its definiteness. Oh, let me write here, def. It's going to impart that to the first word in the chain, right? That's the Venus. So here, this one is the subject now. And here is our verb. Now you'll notice the verb, it starts with a tav. Whenever you have an imperfect verb, that starts with a tav, that will mean one of two things. Running out of some space there. It can mean you speaking to a man or a plural, or it can mean she. And that's what it means here. It is she. Okay. The verb is shuv. Shuvi, shuvi ami. I don't know who sings that. Anybody know that song? Shuv, of course, is where we get teshuvah from. To return. Teshuvah being repentance, like you're returning, right? So Vatashav, what happened here is this kind of verb is called a hollow verb. A hollow verb means it's a verb. Almost all verbal roots in Hebrew have 3 root letters. When the middle root letter is a vav or a yod, that's called a hollow verb. Ran out of space. That's a hollow verb. And so that's what we have happening here, right? We have sheen, and then there's a vav and then bait. They're hollow because it disappears. And that's what happened here. We have our sheen, the vav is gone, and we have the bait. All right? So tashav is an imperfect form. In this case, the subject is yad hamelech. So ha is the, melech is king, hamelech the king, and because that last word in this construct chain is definite, it is going to make the whole chain definite. So we have to say the yad, the hand of the king, right? You always have of in between the words in a construct chain. So that's our subject. This is the thing that the verb is about, all right? Yad, it doesn't look like it, but it is feminine. That's why we had to have the tav here at the beginning, marking this imperfect verb as a feminine. Now, imperfect means it's an ongoing action. Usually that will be present tense in English or future, right? The idea is it's incomplete. But wait a second, we have the vav conversive following the usual pattern for a vav conversive. What is our pattern for vav conversive? I'm going to draw it over here, lower middle, okay? A vav conversive, when it is connected to an imperfect verbal form, here we have our verb, okay? And we'll have, usually there's some kind of a prefix here, right? That's like what we saw over here. Look, this one here, right? That's a prefix, the tav, right? The tav is prefixed on there. So I have some kind of prefix here. And then we write our vav. Okay. And then the vowels will be usually a patach and a dagesh goes into that. See, look at that. Let me zoom in on that so you can see what's happening. This is the usual breakdown, the way it's going to look for a vav conversive with an imperfect form of the verb. So you have your verbal root, right? Like over here, we have shuv, but all that's left is the shav part. And then you're going to you've got your prefix on there, or affix if you want to say, that helps you to see who is doing the verbal function. If it's an aleph, it's I. If it's a noon, it's we. If it's a yod, it's he or they. If it's a tav, it's you or she or you all, okay? So here, that's this cyan part here. And then we draw our vav conversive, and the vowel is patach and dagesh, a dagesh. We double, usually. Not always. If it's a yod, oftentimes it won't, but we double that guy there. If it can't double, like it's an aleph from ani, then you'll get compensatory lengthening. This will come down and lengthen the short vowel to a long vowel. Don't worry about this if it's too hard for you. It's just there for those of you who want it, okay? You should be used to that already by now. I give you extra information, so it should be interesting for everybody. All right. And look, the same thing is happening over here. There's our patach, and there is our dagesh on the inside. See? It's following the pattern quite nicely. Vatashav. Tashav, she will return. Vatashav, and she returned. So, and I'm not going to say she because we know who the she is. It's a subject. Yad HaMelech. So, and the hand of the king returned. Eilaiv, eilaiv, unto Vav. A dative here, unto him. Vatashav yad hamelech eilaiv. And the hand of the king, or so the hand of the king, or then the hand of the king returned el unto I've unto him. Vatehhi. What's happening here? Here we have another vav conversive form. See, look, here's our vav, and then we expect a patach. There's the patach, and we expect a dagesh. There's the dagesh. And then what is the cyan form? Well, that's a tav, just like we had over here. Okay, so it's going to either be you, y'all, or she. There's our vav conversive, and let's follow the rest of the pattern. Okay, and the verb in this example is actually haya. Oftentimes, with verbs that end in a hey, what happens? The hey goes away. Let's look a bit closer. So you see that's what's happening. Here's our vav. Here's the patach. Here's the strong dagesh. And then the cyan is telling us what is the affix on that verb. It looks like a prefix letter that's going to tell you who's doing it. It's still she because we're still talking about Yad HaMelech, the hand of the king. Tehi is she will be, but the Vav conversive is changing it, just like it changed Tashav, she will be, Vatashav, and she was. Same thing here. Tehi, she will be, Vathi, and she was. Kebarashana. Kebarashana. So here we have a couple of things happening. We're stacking some inseparable prepositions. The first we have is kaf. Usually meaning like or as. Okay, like or as. And then we have ve. Usually meaning in. against, with, etc. I'll just put in here for now. Rishona, Rishona, beginning. Rashi comments on the very first word in the Bible that had we expected it to say in the beginning, we would have expected Ba Rishona. Ba Rishona, which is what this says in the beginning. Ba Rishona. For those of you who've bought my book, you've seen that I translate a little bit differently, Bereshit, than the traditional way that I've always seen it translated by anybody else. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. If not, please consider supporting this ministry. Buy my book. It's my own personal translation of the book of Genesis I made about, I think, 5 years ago. There might be some mistakes in there. Actually, I know there are, because I sent it to a few people who said they'd edit it, and none of those who agreed to edit it gave me their comments ever. So I guess it's a lot. It's a big ask. Hey, could you read the book of Genesis? So it's my translation I made. I did not look at any English translations. The only thing I looked at was the original Hebrew. I looked at the Aramaic Targums. I looked at the Jewish Greek Septuagint. There are a couple times I might have looked at, I think I looked at Peshitta for a couple things, and in a couple places I looked at the Yiddish Yehoyash translation, the Yiddish. And then I have pretty deep notes all throughout there, referencing Talmud, Ugaritic texts, uh, where I'm coming from with these ideas. So, and really it's you guys that I had in mind when I was writing this. I wanted to make, actually I'm working on a whole Torah series. It's just time. I keep getting delayed. I wanted to make a chumash for those of you who are really into the Hebrew and those who are wanting to break through, right? So I comment on interesting Hebrew words and I have them in Hebrew and transliterated on the bottom. And so I painstakingly align the Hebrew text of the Masorah with my English translation on each page. And then the references are always on the bottom of every page. You don't need, I didn't make a separate bibliography for that. So that if you're doing a Devar Torah or you're doing a drash, a sermon of your own, you don't have to jump all over for that. You can give the, I mean, hopefully you'll mention me too, but you can mention you can get the resource right there on the bottom. It'll say the comment and where the scholarly article is or whatever that dealt with that. And by the way, guys, you really should, if you learn something from someone, you got to tell somebody else. I know one guy who's a teacher in the Messianic movement, a nice teacher, but what he'll do is he'll get like a commentary on something, and the commentary will point out, this says that, this says that, this rabbi says that, and he'll give you those references, but he won't tell you the guy that pointed them out, the one who did all the research. You can't do that. That is not okay in Yiddishkeit. That's really, really bad derech eretz, and many of the Rabbanon consider this to be a sin if you do that. If you steal the work of someone else and don't give credit where it came from. So really don't let's get past ego. If you're a teacher, let's get past that. And none of us know everything. We're all learning. So it's great you did the research and you found out where it is. So at least say where the source comes from, yeah, or the source of the source. Okay, you'll see if you study the Talmud at all, you'll see that sages, Chazal, they diligently say, Rabbi so and so, Rav Piloni Amar Vishem, Rav Piloni, Rabbi so and so said in the name of Rabbi so and so. Sometimes they even go back three. This is the dedication to not steal credit. Rabbi so and so in the name of Rabbi so and so in the name of Rabbi so and so said. Right? And in case you've ever wondered what it means in the apostolic writings, which is a Jewish writing, the New Testament, it's a Jewish book. If there was no Christianity, for example, and an archaeologist found the apostolic writings in the desert, right, in some caves, like we found the Dead Sea Scrolls sectarian manuscripts, it would have appeared very similar. It would have just looked like, okay, this is some Jewish sect, and there's infighting among the sects. And it would have been very similar to what we see with the Dead Sea Scrolls. So definitely to try to reduce the entire New Testament that's all written by Jews to be something that's anti-Jewish is just misunderstanding the text. Even the parts that seem harsh against other Jews, you find the same thing in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The same sort of rhetoric, even worse actually. So it's not anti-Semitism. It's an in-house fight with the belief that it would be read by others in the same house. So anyway, so please make sure, give credit where you learn it from. But if you've ever wondered what it means when it says that Yeshua taught not as the scribes and the Pharisees, but as one having authority, what they mean by that is that his ideas are his. He's not saying Rabbi so and so and then Rabbi so and so said this. He's producing it as the originator. That's what that means in Jewish context. It's not really making some claim that like he has higher authority than everybody else, but he's the originator of those ideas. So in case you've ever wondered what that means to teach as one with authority, right? Really with yad, one that has the yad, right? Like we say, the Torah was given by yad Moshe, by the hand of Moshe, right? So Yeshua is the one originating those teachings. So it's the yado, by his hand, or by his authority is another way. You can translate yad as authority. Okay. So Rishona means first or beginning. Like Rashi says, we would have expected the first word in the book of Genesis to say Rishona. And Ba Rishona, although granted it's a Va here, that's just because it's a Begad Kafat letter. Varishana is exactly what Rashi says should be the first book, the first word, if we are to understand Genesis as in the beginning. Ba, it's a ah for thee because the resh couldn't take the dagesh, right? Just like up over here, you see how the aleph could not take the dagesh? So the short vowel patach on the the, here it's normal, right? Hey, patach, dagesh, right? That's how you expect it. That's the normal way. Ha, the, because it was hal. But then when that first letter can't take a dagesh like aleph, cannot, or like Reish cannot, it lengthens the short vowel patach into a long vowel comets, and that's what's happening here. That's why we see it that way. So I'll go ahead and colorize that. It's worth because breaking down this word. So that ah is the only indicator that it's the okay. So ke, like or as, v, in, ah, the, rishona, beginning. Kevarishona, like in the beginning, like it was before. Okay? So, hope you guys found this useful. A lot of stuff breaking down here today. I will see you tomorrow for our Koheleth class, Ecclesiastes. Until then, be well, have a blessed and wonderful day, and keep studying your Hebrew. Be encouraged. You will have breakthroughs. I believe for it. B'zchut Yeshua HaMashiach. For those of you who believe in the Messiah by the merit of Yeshua. And if you don't, you're still welcome to study here with us, of course. Just don't mind our bias. Shalom, shalom.